Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be doing some more Easter decor, this time using Jami Vintage Decoupage paper. You can find a full product list in the description of this video and all your crafting needs on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. I'm going to be using the beautiful Easter decoupage paper from JRV, and my first step is to work out what designs I want to use for today's project. Now, I thought that the center image would be perfect. It has some sweet little deers on there, and I have a piece that will fit that nicely. So I'm carefully cutting out the image that I'm going to use, but I did notice that it was very creased. And if this happens and you receive your decoupage paper and the lines of the crease are bothering you, you can do this. I'm using some baking paper, and then I'm taking an iron and I am using it on the cotton setting. So you don't want any steam with this, and I'm just going to give it a light iron. I'm going to be using this wooden sign that I got at Christmas time for about $1, and I've already removed some glitter and some other attachments, and now I am coming in with several coats of Dixie Belle's cotton. It took about 3 coats to get this completely covered, and to hide some of the texture I did change the direction of my brush strokes. Now for this project, we're going to try the iron-on method. So what I'm doing first is I'm going to be applying 3 coats of Dixie Belle's Satin clear coat and letting them dry. I'm then positioning my paper over the top of my dry product and working out exactly where I want it to go. So there will be some that I'll have to sand off. Once I've got it positioned, I'm putting some baking paper over the top to protect my paper, and then I'm grabbing my iron and it's on the cotton setting, no steam. And I'm going to start from the inside and work my way out. This is going to help minimize any air bubbles. So you want to work from the inside out, pressing firmly, but also keeping that iron moving. You don't want to let it sit for too long, otherwise you could burn your paper. So I'm going to do several swipes over this. I'll check each time just to see how it's adhering, and I will continue ironing until I have the whole thing adhered. So what is happening here is that the heat is reactivating the clear coat that I've already put down, and the paper is then adhering to the surface. Once my paper is stuck down, I'm going to use some 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to go around the edges, and in a downward motion I'm sanding off the excess paper. Next, I need to seal my paper, so I'm using the same clear coat, the satin clear coat over the top, and you can see some wrinkles appearing. Don't panic. Once it's dry, I'm using the iron again to smooth it all out. Next, I'm using Dixie Belle's Cactus Silk Mineral Paint around the border of the frame. I thought that the green went really nicely with this design. Now, this has a built-in sealer, so I will not need to put any clear coat over the top. I'm using a small artist brush to make sure that I don't get any of the green on my paper, and this will take 2 coats to get good coverage. Once that dried, I decided I wanted to antique this up just a little bit more, so I'm coming in with my Tobacco Road Voodoo gel stain, and I'm doing just a light wash on the entire piece, being a bit darker around the edges. Remember, I've sealed this so I can wipe it back. And here's our finished deer sign. I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think that paper is absolutely adorable. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. For our next projects, I'm going to be using these small little signs that I got at Christmas on sale. Saved them up for something like this. My first step is to give each of these 3 coats of Dixie Belle's cotton. It's going to take the 3 coats to cover the lettering, and I'm going to set them off to dry. I then need to decide what designs I'm going to use. I picked this sweet little design here with the chicks and the Easter greeting on there. I'm going to trim that out, and then I'm going to be positioning it over the top of the sign to work out how much of it I'm going to need to cut off. So to do this, I'm just going to be using my fingers, and I'm just trimming off some of the excess border there before I do that. So I'm going to use my fingers to carefully work out how much I need to trim off. I will say save that other little piece. You never know when that will come in handy again. So now I'm coming in with Dixie Belle's flat clear coat, and I'm doing a strip of product. I'm going to go to the almost halfway mark. So this is the wet method. So we're applying the product, and then I'm going to set the paper into the wet product. I'm lining it up where I want it to go, and then I'm very gently going to use my fingers to press it down, and then some cling wrap in a ball to smooth it out. I'm then going to lift up the other part of the paper and apply some more product to the rest of the sign. And once I think I've got good coverage, I will carefully press the paper back down. I'll then set this to one side to dry. Now I need to pick another design for the other sign. I picked this sweet little picture here, and once I've worked out how much I'm going to need, I'm going to trim the design out, and I'm just using my finger to crease where I'm going to need to cut. I'm going to lose some of the little trees on the side there, but again, that's okay. I will just save those scraps because I could possibly use them later. I'm also trimming around the borders of the image as well. Then I'm going to come in with the flat clear coat, and I'm repeating the same process as before, laying down the product halfway, pressing the paper down, and then smoothing it out with the cling wrap. Using the ball of cling wrap helps reduce friction, which minimizes the chance of ripping the paper. Once I have the design completely stuck down, I'm going to set it off to the side to dry. And once it's dry, I'm coming in with my craft knife, and I'm going to very carefully trim off the excess paper from around the border. Unfortunately, due to the angle of the sign, I'm unable to use the sandpaper like I usually would to get a nice clean edge, but I'm not worried if the edges are not perfect. This is meant to look like a vintage sign, so it kind of goes with the look that I'm going for. Now that I have the excess paper off, I'm going to seal both of the signs. If you find that you have some wrinkles, I don't really have many here, but if it's bothering you, you can cover over your dry paper with some baking paper and use an iron like I am here on the cotton setting to smooth out any of your creases. Next, I'm starting work on the frames of the signs. I'm going to give each of them a coat of Dixie Belle's Tobacco Road Voodoo gel stain. I have watered it down just a little, and I'm using a paper towel to wipe off the excess. I also added some to the paper itself to add to that vintage feel. Next, I'm coming in with Dixie Belle's Rebel Yellow Chalk Mineral Paint. I thought it went beautifully for Easter, and it goes with the little chicks on this sign. And I'm applying it with an artist's brush, and I'm not being careful to get full coverage. I want some of that stain to show through. I want that little bit of contrast, and this is going to give it a lovely vintage feel. And I am, of course, repeating the same steps on the other little sign, adding the Tobacco Road Voodoo gel stain, and then adding the Rebel Yellow to the outside. It took 2 light coats of the yellow to get the coverage that I wanted. When that was dry, I sealed both of the frames of the signs with easy peasy spray wax. And here are our little Easter signs. I think that these turned out absolutely adorable. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. For our final project, we're going to be using 3 of these little tin buckets that I got from IKEA. They were for Valentine's Day, so I got them for about 50 cents each. I have gone and applied a coat of Rustoleum matte clear coat so that the paint will adhere, and now I've mixed up some of my Cashmere chalk mineral paint with some of Dixie Belle's sea spray, and I'm just going to dab and stipple it on over the whole bucket. Now it does have some raised detail on this bucket, which is another reason why I went for the sea spray. It does tend to hide this really well, but honestly I love the vintage feel that the sea spray gives to any project. I'll be applying 2 coats of the sea spray mixture to the exterior of the buckets, and I'll also be doing 2 coats of the Cashmere chalk paint on its own to the interior of the buckets too. When they're completely dry, I'm going to grab some 220 grit sandpaper and lightly sand the outside of each of the buckets just to knock off any really sharp edges. Next, I'm going to select some of the designs that I'm going to be using. I love this little design here with the horse and the little chick, so I'm carefully cutting that out. We're going to use this design on one of the buckets. I've also trimmed off some of the excess blue border there too. I'm going to be using Dixie Belle's flat clear coat for this, and I'm going to apply a generous amount to the bucket. Now, I am going to go in a few different directions with my brush strokes just to make sure that I have not missed out on any of the areas on the bucket. I'm then going to carefully lay down the decoupage paper over the top of my bucket, and then I'm going to get the cling wrap and very carefully press the paper into the product. I've got to be really careful here. There is raised texture and I don't want to rip my paper. I'm also using my brush to carefully press the paper down. I've got more product on there as well, so this is also sealing the top of the paper as well. Next, I'm cutting out another design. I thought that this was a very sweet little image here that would look lovely on my bucket. So I'm going to apply a generous amount of product. Again, I'm changing brush stroke direction to make sure I have a decent amount of product where I need it to be. And then I'm going to carefully grab my paper and press it into the wet product. Once I have it pressed down, I'm going to use my brush to apply some more pressure and to make good contact. I have got a little bit of product on my brush as well, so this is smoothing out the paper nicely, and it is a lot gentler than trying to use my fingers. Because of the amount of product I'm using here, I do run the risk of ripping the paper, so just using your brush to carefully press the paper down is definitely a good idea. So I'll be sanding the excess paper off the bottom of the bucket there, and each of these will be sealed entirely with the same flat clear coat. I picked another design with some sweet little chicks for our third and final bucket, so I'm repeating the same steps again. I'm just going to trim off some of the excess to make sure that it's going to fit nicely and not have too much overhang. Next, I'm going to start applying the product just like we did before, applying a generous amount, and then once I've got enough, I will carefully press the paper into the product and use the paintbrush to smooth it down. So hopefully you've noticed that I tend to start from the center and then work my way out here, and I'm also being careful to use my paintbrush to work the paper and the product into the groove down the bottom. So this project in particular has been really easy and straightforward, and definitely something that you can do with perhaps even something that you've got at home. And we always need baskets or buckets at Easter for our Easter eggs, so it's definitely a fun one to do. And here are our finished Easter buckets. This was such a fun and easy craft that you could do with your kids. Really, any skill level can do this. I hope that you like them. Let me know what you think of them in the comments. I really hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it's inspired you to get crafting for Easter to create your own seasonal decor. If you enjoyed today's projects, please give this video a thumbs up, comment, and share it out to a friend that you think might enjoy it. If you're not already, I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find all of the products used in today's video on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.